And I don't think some people are really have got a clue about this God who blessed Noah. Because God decided that he wanted to bless Noah. And God didn't decide that he wanted to bless Noah until things got bad on the earth. God was really upset with what was going on. There's no indication that God was upset, that much with what was going on when he decided to give Abraham or Abram some land. No, he didn't. And like I said, Abram was 75 years old, and his wife, Sarah, or Sarai, ever how you want to say it, was a few years younger. But she was a beauty. I mean, she was one of those good lookers. And she was good looking at 65. She was still good looking when she was probably 70. And they had some interesting things happen to them, as they were going where God wanted them to go. Abraham had nothing other than a command given to him by God, and God blessed Abram, whose name was later changed to Abraham. God did that all on his own. And I know Abraham was sure surprised. I mean, Abram, he had heard and knew about the flood. It hadn't been that many years, before. Abram knew, all of Noah's family line. I'm sure they were keeping up. It wasn't that difficult. But anyway, Abraham was told by God to go, and Abraham went. And it says God appeared to Abraham and talked to Abraham. And on one occasion, God came and ate with Abraham. And they talked about what was going to happen the next day. And the next day was, what happened the next day was some angels told Lot and his wife and 2 daughters that they should leave Sodom and go to this place. So sure enough, he picked up and away he went. Now his wife didn't follow instructions. And you can figure out what happened when she didn't follow the instructions. It didn't turn out well for her. But God blessed Abraham. And when God told Abraham that his wife, at the age of about 90, was going to have a child, he laughed. Now, Abraham laughed at what God had said. People do not need to laugh at what God says. I wish they would hurry up and figure that out. Laughing at what God says is not, I think God probably laughed, at him when it said, you watch, your wife will have a baby. And I think God even told him to name the child Isaac. So guess what happened? I think you might have figured it out. A year, or not quite a year later, Abraham's 90-year-old wife gave birth to a baby, and she named it Isaac. And Abraham was 100 years old. So, folks, do not doubt. If God says he's going to do something, don't doubt it. Please don't doubt it. It would not be, smart on your part or mine to doubt God. Now, I'm still thinking about God told him where to go. God told him he was going to give him the land. And God told him something about the children that were going to be born later. He didn't talk about all the children of all the people that scattered all over the earth, but he told him about the people that would be born and in covenant with him. So God now, at this time, had a covenant with Abraham, and he had cut some skin from his body and bled, and the covenant was made. Abraham's blood was the first, and Ishmael was probably the second. And later, Isaac was circumcised, and so were some others, as God had commanded. God gives commandments to men, and men should keep them. Yep. God commanded Abraham, and Abraham did do what God wanted him to do. The next thing that you find that gets real interesting is that God gives Joseph some dreams. Joseph gets some dreams. Joseph was the son of Jacob, who was the son of Isaac. Now, have you got that? And God gives Joseph some dreams. And Joseph is a young boy. He's about 18 years old. And his brothers, they fixed up a plan. They were not impressed because their younger brother had told Daddy what they had done. Now, I don't even know what they had done. I just know what Joseph had done. He had ratted or told Daddy what his brothers had done. And they were upset. And they decided that they would take action. And they did. And they killed the goat, put the blood all over Joseph's clothes, and Joseph got sold. And the coat got taken back to his father Jacob, and he was convinced that his son had been killed. Now that was a sad day for Jacob. But his wife, who was old, did have another child, and I think she probably died giving birth. So Joseph saw his mother the last time he saw her when he was 18 years old. But Joseph didn't die. He wasn't dead. And things happened to Joseph in the years that, came after that. But God had told Abraham something and mentioned about 400 years. And then God had said, at the end of which time I will do something. So God made good on his words. Yep. And all of Jacob's family moved to Egypt, and they were given a place during the worst famine that had ever been on the earth. But guess who had caused the famine? If you can't guess it, I'll tell you. God caused the famine. And God gave Pharaoh, who was the ruler at the time over the land of Egypt, dreams. And Joseph just happened to be able to hear from God and interpret dreams. So you can figure out pretty easy that God can give dreams to one person and reveal the dream and its meaning to another, and he did it through Joseph. And then things really got interesting. As the years went by, Moses is born. Joseph has been dead for years. But before Joseph died, he made it known that he wanted his bones to be brought out of Egypt. Now you might want to know, well, why was his bones in Egypt? His bones were in Egypt because of Joseph's position with Pharaoh. Joseph had died. And he had known that his fathers had died too. And he wanted, I guess he wanted his bones to be with his family at some point. But anyway, that is how God was doing some things back then.